Hi, it's Drake Rich of the City of Wisdom. Today we'll answer the question, how do I protect my family from being scammed? In 2023, this world is crazy. It seems like everyone with a camera, a microphone, a blog, a website, I don't know, a platform, you name it. They have the ability to make an offer. And it's not easy for us to be able to distinguish what is a scam, like what is not possible, what is someone overpromising and they're going to underdeliver, and what is a genuine opportunity that I can take advantage of. Oftentimes I run into people where they say, you know what, Trey, I can't figure up from down, so I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to invest in the stock market. I'm not going to worry about real estate. Everybody has someone that they know has been scammed. And as a result, we get so concerned about being taken advantage of that we're completely allowing realistic opportunities to go by the wayside. And we're going to talk about what causes someone to be scammed. And we're going to talk about how do I avoid being scammed and what do I teach my children so that when I create my generational wealth, they don't lose it to some swindler. And so interesting enough, it comes down to discernment, the wisdom that we need to be able to tell right from wrong, good from evil, up from down. When we understand when we should splurge or when we should save, when we understand when we should invest or when we should pull back, the ability to understand when we should show mercy versus when we should seek justice, when we should be spontaneous versus when we should be disciplined and following a plan. Your ability to discern these opportunities is what's going to set you apart from most people. Now, the difficulty that we have, and the difficulty even I had, is I would always be frustrated by the lack of clarity. Like, I just wasn't sure if I should take the actions. I listened to people and they would say, oh, you got to take a leap of faith, Dre. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to go after it, Dre, or else it's not going to work out. And then I would be like, okay, well, I need to go after it. I don't have enough faith. So I need to take action. I need to invest in these things. Or I have people that will say, Dre, I've been looking for an opportunity and the opportunity came, so it must be a sign. And I'm like, yes, a sign that someone's SEO is working really well, right? The sign that someone's ad is being placed in the proper location. It may not be a sign from God that this was the opportunity that you had been waiting for. When it comes to discernment and knowing which one of these levers we should be pulling and how do we teach our kids, it really comes down to us making sure a couple things. So I'll give you a couple verses. First of all, understand that the ability to discern right from wrong, good from evil, things of that nature is actually a very high level skill that is needed. In Hebrews 5:14, it says, but solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. Notice the word constant practice. Doesn't that imply that you probably made some less than stellar decisions along the way? What you have to do is you have to test things. I was someone who was looking for clarity before I took my first step. But then when I took a step, I just leapt in. You shouldn't leap in. We should investigate. We should learn to test. Well, what things can we test? Warren Buffett puts it a great way. He says he only invests in companies that he understands. What does he mean by that? He has enough knowledge to be able to test the information that he is being given with his already acquired knowledge so that he can see if there's any red flags. Where if someone says this is how much money we're making, he has the knowledge of that industry to say that's a red flag. That's not possible, or that's too low. That's not good enough. If we don't have benchmarks, as I will call them, then anyone can tell us any number and then we'll think that it's possible, which leads to being scammed. So the first thing that you have to do to make sure that you're not scammed is either increase your overall knowledge base or you have to stick within your industries. So there are certain things that I understand very well and I tell you up front, and I can explain these investments and these opportunities very well. I have read the books, I've applied the strategies, I understand it, but there's others that I don't. So the meme stocks, when a friend of mine was making all the money on the GameStop, and I think he had bought it at like $50 and he sold it at $450 or $350, something like that. I didn't invest in that, because I didn't understand it. I understood that there were people who were somehow raising the price of this meme stock because they were mad at Wall Street for shorting the stocks, but I didn't understand how that would work long term. I also had the opportunity in 2012 to invest in Facebook, and it would have been a great investment. I think they opened at like $40 and it dropped to close to like 12 and somewhere in the teens. They had dropped there early on. But what ended up happening is I just didn't understand how they were going to make money at the time. They weren't able to turn all their viewers into revenue. And because of that, I was like, I don't really understand how they're going to be able to do the ads and all this other stuff. So I didn't invest in that opportunity. I did not understand it well enough. Now, granted, it turned out fantastic for those that did invest early, but it was just something that I didn't understand well enough to be comfortable investing in it. Now, granted, they went out, they hired an ex Google CEO, and that person did a fantastic job. And I just didn't know they were going to do that. But there's other companies that people invested in without understanding them. When the IPO came out, I think Robinhood was one of those where it came out, it was pretty high and all the expectations were up there and it just didn't pan out. I was someone who said, I'm looking at Robinhood, I was like, I just don't see how they're going to make money. I don't see how they're going to be able to maintain and increase the value based on the valuation that we had today. Right? There are certain situations where it works and the ones that it doesn't. But you, to not be scammed, you have to be comfortable saying, I don't understand this well enough. Can you explain it to me as if I was a third grader? And if the person cannot explain it to you to the where you have a good understanding, then you avoid that opportunity. It's okay. We tested it. It didn't work. It's fine. The way Warren Buffett describes it is he says that it's like being a batter in a baseball game, except you don't get called to strike three for looking at the strikes go by. You swing at your favorite pitch and hit the home run whenever you can, but you are not required to swing at anything else. And there are so many great companies, so many opportunities that they just keep coming. So you have to turn down that flight or flight feeling where it's like, I'm going to mess this out. I'm going to mess up, because that's greed talking. And the second reason that people get scammed is because of greed, where you're being told that this opportunity is going to turn $100 into $100 million. Well, that sounds really good. But if we take a step back, if someone could do that, why would they tell us? We're like, why would they tell us? Why would someone share such a phenomenal opportunity with us? And I don't say this throwing shade at you or me. I'm just simply saying, if you were able to turn $100 into $100 million, if you had the Midas touch, would you just go around touching things for random people just for fun? And be like, hey, we only turn that into gold for you. It only costs you $10. You and I would say, well, if you could turn it into gold, why in the world would you turn something into gold for me and only charge me $10, knowing that if you turn it into gold, it's worth thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. You're only going to charge me $10? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And so when it comes to testing, there are tons of Bible verses that talk about testing, and I do feel like it's so often overlooked. But 1 John 4:1 says, Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, for many false prophets have gone out into the world. The reality is you have to test the spirit. How do we test it? Do we put all of our money in? Of course not. Do we listen to an influencer that's being paid to say it worked for them? Of course not. Do we put a little bit in something that we're not worried about losing if it doesn't work out? Sure, you could do that. I'm someone who more likes to wait and see. I have no problem. I have no fear of missing out of an amazing opportunity. And it's today only, Dre, because I've been online long enough. I've seen enough of these situations. And when those websites say, when the timer goes off, the deal goes away, I'm going back to the website the next day. And you know what? That deal is still there. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. That deal was still there. There are many opportunities that they say this is once in a lifetime. And when it's gone, it's gone. Right? They're speaking to the greed inside of us. We have to tap down the greed. And we'll say, you know what? I'm going to test it. And we don't need to test for our own money. Wisdom, you get wisdom two ways. One is you get wisdom by your own experiences. You mess up and then you're like, I ain't doing that again. The second one you get wisdom is for other people messing up. Oh, you messed up. I see what you did. And I ain't doing that. We gain wisdom by testing, whether you test with your money or you allow other people to test with their money. I'm someone who likes to allow other people to test with their money. I will watch and see what happens. I am okay finding out that I'm wrong, and I'm okay evaluating the situation so that the next opportunity, I have the background knowledge to then make a better decision, because the opportunities are going to keep coming. Another verse on the importance of testing, Philippians 1:9-10 says, And it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless. Listen to that. Be pure and blameless. Oftentimes we find that if we're being scammed, we're probably in the wrong environment. People are around the wrong people. That if we're in a situation where we can be scammed, we often have to look to say, who are we around? Why are we in this situation? Who introduced me to this? Was it someone who was credible? Was it someone who's licensed? Was it someone who's a fiduciary, which means that they by law have to put my best interest first? Is it someone that I feel is ethical and moral? Is it someone that's looking out for my best interest? That's the type of things that you have to ask yourself when you look, because Jim Rohn used to say it. If you show me the people that you're around, I can tell you something about yourself. And it's true that people are disgusted by certain behavior to the point that they won't be around them. If you were someone who was unhealthy and unfit, and you decide to eat healthy and be fit, the people that you used to be around that continue to go to the fast food restaurants and eat all the fried food, they no longer want to be around you if you're ordering a salad every day. You make them feel guilty. If you were someone who used to smoke or used to drink or used to gamble and you decided like, that's not for me anymore, and you're always the sober one in the room, they don't want to invite you around them anymore. So if you're someone who is susceptible to being scammed, or your family member is someone who seems to be susceptible to being scammed, then oftentimes you have to look and say, who are they around? What is it that they are trying to do? Are they blameless? Are they pure in their motives? Are they interested in serving others to create the wealth that they want? And so we often find that people will sell you this something for nothing. Now, you and I understand that it's something for something. We're going to give our time, we're going to give our resources, we're going to give our talent, our skills, we're going to give something. And then as a thank you note, people pay us financially for it. But if someone tells us you don't have to pay anything, but you get all this money, you have to take a step back and say, I don't really know. That doesn't sound pure or blameless. And if you ask me to be able to look at it and say, hey, can I approve this as something that is excellent? Is that excellent? Does that benefit everybody? Even if you read the book, Think and Grow Rich, it talks about the idea of providing value for a lot of people tied to your wealth. If you look at the richest people in the world, what do they all have in common? They've all provided immense wealth for a large number of people. That's the math. If you're providing a certain amount of value to other people, or if you understand the value and how it's being provided. So we do investments, right? If we invest in real estate, then you understand that you're providing someone a house to live in and security for their family and protection. So of course, they're willing to pay a significant amount of money for that, which is why the majority of us, our housing expense is the largest one that we carry every single month, because it's so much value tied to it. There's no surprise there. Your second highest expense is normally going to be your automobile, because that's how you get from A to B. It's how you get the food. It's how you get to work. That's an immense value. So it also makes sense. And then the food, if you go to different places, you and I both know, depending on the quality of food is how much you're going to pay. If you're going to a high quality food place, then you know you're going to pay more for that. And you can get a similar food, but a lower quality version, and you expect to pay a lot less for that. Well, what's the difference? It really comes down to the value that we're giving other people. And as long as you understand that, and the way the Bible talks about it is like the idea that if you want to do good for others, is like you can't mock God. And by that, you can't mock the design of the system that he's created. You cannot say, I'm going to make $1 billion and not provide $1 billion worth of value. Dare I say, provide $10 billion worth of value. Like if I charge you, let's say $100 worth of value. And so I give you $100 worth of value and you gave me $100 back. How often are you to make that exchange, right? Probably not very often. But if I was to charge you $100 worth of value and give you $1,000 worth of value back, well, then you're more likely to make that exchange. You're more likely to tell other people about that value, and our relationship keeps growing and you keep investing in me. If you're not providing value, or if the opportunity doesn't provide value to someone, even when we invest in stocks, well, what do we do with stocks? We're investing in great companies. What happens when we do that? Well, you invest in a great company, then that great company is going to provide a service to the general population. And then that is the value. That's the profit. The company's generating the profit. And then you get a percentage based off of how much you invested in the company, creating its ability to provide the value. It's a very clear relationship. If you can't tell me how someone makes the money and provides value to the world where it matches in some way, shape, or form, then it's highly likely that that is going to be a scam, that is not something that we can approve as excellent. I'll close off with one of my favorite verses. That's 1 Thessalonians 5:21. It says, but test everything, hold fast to what is good. It's one of my favorite verses because it lets you know that you're not required to get it right the first time, nor should you pretend to be perfect. But if you test everything and then you hold on to what is good, what do you do with what's not good? You throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And as you increase in that experience and that knowledge, what are you going to do? As you test more things, it's an easier process. Like, I know that that's not going to work. I know that that's a scam. I know that that person isn't licensed. I know that their advice isn't worthwhile. I know that that opportunity doesn't make sense. I know it's not mathematically possible. One of my favorite scams out there is someone who will say they can get you a 5% return every single week. Now, mathematically, if you were to give someone a 5% return every week, like you guys, we all know that what would you rather have? Would you rather double a penny every day for 30 days? Or would you rather me give you $1 million? And we've all done that game where we know that if you double the penny every day for 30 days, you end up with more than $1 million. So imagine a 5% return every week for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. So we know that mathematically, it's just not possible for someone to be walking around selling an offer where they're going to get us a consistent 5% return every week. Every week. Like, that's crazy. Now, I do know that there's the other idea where everybody will go around and they'll say, well, you really can't figure out the stock market and you're not able to get the returns necessary. And that, I know like 95% of Wall Street traders are not able to beat the market and yada, yada, yada. But the truth is there's a lot of people who beat the market. What we don't discuss is how much hedge funds charge. So they have a huge amount of fees. And once you take the fees off, then most of the time they're not going to outperform the market. But you'll find, and you can Google it, it's not me making it up. There's lots of hedge funds who outperform the stock market. It's just by the time the fees are paid to operate the hedge fund, it ends up kind of washing away a lot of the gains. But it is totally possible. And the second place I have you look is go look at our political office. The people who are on the financial oversight committees, those people make excellent stock picks because they have all the information. So they always get it right. What a great situation for them. Of course it is. But it just proves that if you have the right knowledge, if you have the right wisdom and discernment of good opportunities, they are out there for you. The problem is most people have been trained not in recognizing real and good opportunities. They only recognize the scams. When if I come to you and I say, look, we're going to put a plan together and it's going to take 10 years, you're going to say, that's too long, Dre. There's someone over there who said it would take 10 days, 10 months. Okay. Well, come to me in 10 months and let's see how it worked out. The reality is it's probably not going to work out, right? 10 days, 10 months. Like, are you crazy? More times than not, I tell people, look, you're going to be around for 10 years anyways. You're going to be here. How was the last 10 years? The reality is the majority of people can't retire. I'll show you the numbers. 65% of people retire broke every single day. And less than 10% of the population in the US is a millionaire. So it can't be that super easy and super common that someone should be able to say, well, 10 years is too long, Dre. Everybody's doing it in 10 months. I don't know that everybody's doing it in 10 months. About 65% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck. The numbers say the majority of people, they don't have a plan or an opportunity available. But because we only allow ourselves to absorb the scams and they're telling us exactly what we want to hear, we end up opening ourselves up where they're speaking to the greed. They're speaking to the hope. The hope should be within the system and understanding that there is a sound and repeatable process to achieve the results that we want. And that I've looked them up for you guys. I've shown you that 65% of self-made millionaires have at least 3 streams of income. I've shown you the 7 streams of income that the IRS recognizes. And we talk about the things that give us the ratios that we need to succeed. If I'm able to increase my likelihood of success, no different than a casino in Vegas, then if I do that over the long term, then I should win. It's the same idea of turning a coin heads and tails. If you do it over and over a long period of time, you should have about 50 heads and 50 tails. Sure, you may have 10 heads in a row early, you may have 15 tails in a row late, but if you do it over the long term, it should work out about 50-50. And that's the way I feel about financial planning. If you do a strategy that should work and 65% of self-made millionaires are following it, then it should work over the long term because it's working for 65% of self-made millionaires. Now, amongst the 90% of people who are not on that millionaire status, we know what they're doing. They're living on one stream of income. And the rest of the money is being tied up maintaining a lifestyle that they're not super excited to wake up to each day, but they don't exactly know how to get out of that. And as a result, they become desperate and then we look for the quickest way out of the pain. And the people who offer the quickest way to get out of the pain are often going to be the ones that are going to put us deeper in the hole, not give us a hand to get out. If you found value in this video, I simply ask for you to like and subscribe so you can continue receiving valuable information on how to unlock generational wealth through strategic retirement planning. Until next time, continue blessings.